Kang Minho stood at the observation deck of Nexus Prime, staring at the empty docking bay where the human transport ship Soul's Dream used to rest. 3 months had passed since the last human vessel departed, and the silence still felt wrong to him. He was one of only 12 humans who had chosen to stay behind in the entire galaxy. Everyone else had simply left. The morning had started like any other. Minho worked as an aide to Ambassador Chen Wei, helping translate between human diplomats and the various alien species that made up the Galactic Council. But when he arrived at the embassy that day, he found empty halls and cleaned-out offices. A single note waited on his desk. The evacuation is complete. Your choice to remain is respected. Take care of yourself. Ambassador Chen. No explanation. No warning. No goodbye. Now Minho watched as alien workers struggled to operate the human-built loading equipment in the docking bay below. The Altarian supervisor, a tall, blue-skinned being named Velthar, waved his 4 arms in frustration as another cargo container crashed to the floor. The humans had made it look so easy. "Excuse me?" a voice said behind him. Minho turned to see Crix, a crystalline being whose body caught and reflected the station's lights in beautiful patterns. They had been trade partners with several human companies for years. "Hello, Crix," Minho said. "I thought you might have questions." "Many questions," Crix replied, their voice making a sound like wind chimes. "My human contacts vanished overnight. Contracts worth millions of credits. Simply abandoned. Why did your people leave without a word?" Minho had asked himself the same question every day for 3 months. "I don't know," he admitted. "But I think they were planning this for a long time." Down in the council chambers, the mood was very different. The alien representatives sat around their curved table, and most of them looked pleased. Velthar was one of the few who seemed worried. "This is excellent news," declared Thorok, the massive rock-like being who represented the granite worlds. The humans were becoming too influential, always pushing their ideas, their methods. Now we can return to proper galactic traditions. Several other council members agreed. The humans had only joined the galactic community 50 years ago, but they had quickly become involved in everything. Their ships were faster, their computers were smarter, and they seemed to solve problems that had puzzled other species for centuries. Many aliens found this annoying. They were becoming too powerful, said Silex, a reptilian being with green scales. "Better they are gone before they tried to take over everything." Velthar's tentacles twisted with concern. "But consider what they accomplished. The trade route efficiency improvements, the medical advances, the terraforming techniques, all of which we can manage ourselves," Thorok interrupted. "We survived for millions of years before the humans arrived. We will continue just fine without them." But Velthar had been studying the reports from across the galaxy, and the numbers worried him. In the past 3 months, productivity had dropped on every world where humans had been working. Not by a little, by significant amounts. The humans hadn't just been workers. They had been problem solvers. On Kepler Station, in the engineering, levels far below the main decks, Park Sumi crouched in a maintenance tunnel, trying to stay hidden. She was supposed to have left with the others, but something had gone wrong with her transport. By the time she reached the docking bay, the last human ship was already gone. For weeks, she had been living in the unused sections of the station, surviving on emergency rations and water recyclers. She watched through security cameras as the alien engineers struggled with systems that she and her human colleagues had maintained for years. The station's power grid was failing slowly. The aliens couldn't understand why. They saw the humans as just another maintenance crew, not realizing that Sumi and her team had been constantly improving and adjusting the systems. What looked like simple repairs were actually complex upgrades that kept the entire station running smoothly. Today, something finally broke that the aliens couldn't fix. The water recycling system for Section 7 shut down completely, affecting thousands of residents. Sumi watched the alien engineers stare at the control panels with confusion. They knew how to replace broken parts, but they didn't understand how the system actually worked. She made a decision. Sumi crawled through the maintenance tunnels to the recycling plant and began working. It took her 4 hours to fix what should have been a simple problem, but the aliens had made it worse by trying repairs they didn't understand. When she emerged from the tunnels covered in grease and coolant, she found a security team waiting for her. "You are human," said the lead guard, a 4-armed Centaurian. "You were supposed to leave." "I got left behind," Sumi said simply. "And your water system was broken." News of the hidden humans spread quickly through the station. Within hours, Sumi found herself in the station commander's office, facing questions she couldn't answer. "Why did your people leave?" asked Commander Ixalk, an insect-like being with compound eyes that reflected rainbow colors. "I don't know," Sumi said. "Nobody told us regular workers what was happening. One day we got orders to pack only essential items and report to the transport ships. That was it." "No explanation?" "Nothing. Just orders to evacuate immediately and completely." Commander Ixalk's antennae twitched with thought. "What did you take with you?" Sumi considered this. "Personal items, family photos, some technical manuals. But all our tools, all our equipment, all our project files, we left everything behind." This bothered the commander. If the humans were planning to never return, why leave behind valuable equipment and years of research? Unless they considered it all replaceable. Back on Nexus Prime, Velthar was discovering just how much the humans had left behind. Every human facility on every world contained the same thing: perfectly organized workshops, detailed maintenance schedules, and complex projects that were simply abandoned halfway through completion. But the files were encrypted. The computers required passwords nobody knew. And the projects themselves were so advanced that alien scientists couldn't understand them without human explanation. "It's like they vanished on purpose," Velthar told his aide. "But why? We never threatened them. We never asked them to leave." His aide, a young Altarian named Kex, brought him the latest reports. "Sir, I've been analyzing the evacuation pattern. It wasn't random. They evacuated from the edge worlds first, then worked inward. The most important human personnel left last. This was planned for months, maybe years." Velthar's skin changed to a darker blue, which showed deep concern among his people. "Then this wasn't a sudden decision. They knew they were going to leave, long before they actually did it. Sir, there's something else. The humans didn't just leave. They took very specific things with them. Advanced computer cores, certain research files, and all their quantum communication equipment, but they left behind enough supplies and equipment to keep their projects running for exactly 90 days. 90 days? Yes, sir, as if they expected someone else to take over by then, or they expected their systems to safely shut down on their own. Velthar stood at his office window, looking out at the busy alien crowd below. For the first time in months, he noticed how much slower everything moved without humans around. Lines at the transport stations were longer. Cargo handling took more time. Even simple administrative tasks seemed to require more effort. "Kex," he said quietly, "I think we made a terrible mistake." "Sir? We thought the humans needed us, but I'm beginning to think we needed them." Outside, Kang Minho walked through the markets of Nexus Prime, listening to alien merchants complain about delayed shipments and broken equipment. Nobody connected these problems to the human departure yet, but Minho could see the pattern forming. The galaxy was about to learn the difference between being wanted and being needed. 2 weeks after the humans left, the first major system failed. The failure happened on Trader's Moon, a busy commercial hub where ships from across the galaxy came to buy and sell goods. The main traffic control system, which managed the landing and takeoff of thousands of ships every day, simply stopped working during the morning rush. Controller Zeke, a spider-like being with 8 arms, stared at his screens in panic as ships began stacking up in orbit, waiting for landing permission. That never came. The automated system that had run perfectly for 15 years was now showing nothing but error messages. "Get the human technicians," Zeke commanded his assistant. "Sir," the assistant replied nervously, "the humans left 2 weeks ago. Remember?" Zeke's 8 eyes blinked in sequence as he realized the problem. The traffic control system had been installed by humans, maintained by humans, and updated by humans. Now there were no humans left to fix it. Emergency repairs took 3 days, during which time ship traffic backed up across 2 star systems. When the system finally came back online, it operated at only 60% efficiency. Ships that used to land smoothly now had to wait hours for clearance. But Trader's Moon was just the beginning. On the agricultural world of Green Valley, Farmer Bronk noticed his crop yields dropping. The soil enhancement system that the human consultant Lee Jiwoo had installed 5 years ago was producing strange readings. The plants were still growing, but they looked weak and pale. Bronk tried to contact Lee Jiwoo, but her communication device showed only a message. "Human colony evacuation complete. Emergency contacts transferred to local authorities." The local authorities knew nothing about soil enhancement systems. Within a week, similar problems appeared on 12 other farming worlds. Crops that had been thriving under human improved. Systems began showing signs of stress. The enhancement systems were still running, but something was wrong with their programming. Dr. Vash, the chief agricultural officer for the sector, called an emergency meeting. "We need to figure out how these systems work," he told his team of alien scientists. "The humans left behind technical manuals, but they're written in human scientific terminology that we don't fully understand." "What about the human who stayed behind on Nexus Prime?" suggested his assistant. "Kang Minho. Maybe he can help." Dr. Vash contacted Minho, who agreed to look at the manuals. When Minho saw them, he shook his head sadly. "These aren't really instruction manuals," he explained during a video call. "They're more like maintenance logs. They assume you already know how the systems work. Lee Jiwoo and her team never wrote down the basic principles because they thought they'd always be here to operate the systems themselves." "Can you help us understand them?" Dr. Vash asked. "I can try, but I'm not an agricultural engineer. I was just a diplomatic aide." Minho did his best, but the systems were too complex. The humans hadn't just installed machines. They had created integrated biological and technological systems that required constant small adjustments based on weather, soil conditions, and plant growth patterns. Without that human intuition and experience, the system slowly began to fail. On Kepler Station, Park Sumi found herself becoming the most important person in the sector. After fixing the water recycling system, station management had asked her to help with other problems. She discovered that almost every major system on the station had been subtly modified or improved by human engineers over the years. Your people were very thorough, Commander Ixalk said as they walked through the engineering levels. We're finding human improvements everywhere. Efficiency upgrades, safety modifications, performance enhancements. Most of our staff didn't even know these changes had been made, Sumi nodded. That was the point. We were supposed to make things work better without anyone noticing. Good engineering should be invisible. But now that you're gone, the problems are becoming visible. They stopped at a power distribution panel that was flickering with warning lights. Sumi opened it and saw a mess of disconnected circuits and burned components. What happened here? She asked. The panel started showing error messages yesterday, Commander Ixalk explained. Our technicians tried to repair it, but Sumi studied the damage. They replaced the wrong components. This panel was modified with a human-designed load balancing system. When they put in standard parts, it overloaded the circuits. Can you fix it? Yes, but this is going to keep happening. Every system my team touched will eventually need repairs that require understanding our modifications, and there are hundreds of them. Commander Ixalk's compound eyes dimmed with worry. How long before we have more failures than you can fix? Sumi did some quick calculations in her head. Based on normal wear rates and the complexity of our modifications, maybe 6 months before things start breaking faster than I can repair them. Across the galaxy, similar conversations were happening on dozens of worlds. Velthar received reports every day of systems failing, productivity dropping, and problems that nobody knew how to solve. The pattern was becoming clear. Everywhere. Humans had worked. Things were slowly breaking down. It's not just the machines, he told the Galactic Council during an emergency session. It's the knowledge. The humans didn't just operate equipment, they understood it in ways we apparently don't. Thorok, the massive rock being, remained stubborn. These are temporary problems. We'll learn to manage without them. Will we? Velthar challenged. The Helix Nebula mining operation is down to 40% efficiency. 3 agricultural worlds are facing crop failures. 2 medical stations can't perform surgeries they were doing routinely last month. How is this temporary? Silix, the Reptilian Council member, shifted uncomfortably. Perhaps we could send messages to the humans, ask them to return and fix these problems. We tried, Velthar said. All human communication channels are dead. Their embassy ships, their quantum transmitters, their diplomatic frequencies. Everything is silent. This was the most disturbing part. The humans hadn't just left, they had completely cut off contact with the galaxy. No forwarding addresses, no emergency contacts, no way to reach them at all. Crix, the crystalline trader, spoke up from the visitors section. I may have information about their destination. The council turned to listen. Crix's body flashed with nervous light patterns. Before they left, several human trading companies transferred their contracts to me. They gave me detailed instructions for maintaining their business relationships, but only for 1 year. After that, they said, I should consider the contracts permanently closed. 1 year? Velthar asked. Yes. As if they knew exactly how long their systems would continue working without them. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans hadn't left in panic or anger. They had planned this evacuation carefully, calculating exactly how long their technology would function before alien civilizations would be forced to either learn to fix things themselves or face serious problems. There's more, Crix continued. The last message I received from my human contacts included coordinates to a previously unknown star system at the galaxy's edge. When I sent a probe to investigate, I found evidence of massive construction activity. Metal debris, energy signatures, quantum wake patterns from large ships. They built something out there, Velthar realized. Yes, something big enough to house millions of people. Dr. Vash's voice joined the meeting via communication link from Green Valley. Council members, I have an update on the agricultural crisis. We've managed to stabilize crop production on 6 worlds, but only by reducing yields to pre-human levels. The advanced techniques the humans taught us, we simply can't replicate them without their guidance. Another voice joined the call, Commander Ixalk from Kepler Station. We're experiencing similar problems with station systems. Park Sumi has been invaluable, but she's only one person. She estimates we'll need at least 50 human engineers to maintain current operational levels. Velthar looked around the council chamber. Does anyone still think this is a temporary inconvenience? Even Thorok remained silent. The humans didn't abandon us, Velthar continued. They withdrew their services. And now we're discovering just how much we depended on those services. That night, Kang Minho sat in his quarters on Nexus Prime, reading messages from humans who had contacted him privately. They weren't supposed to communicate with the galaxy, but a few had sent brief, encrypted notes. We're safe. One message read, The new colony is growing well. Don't worry about us. Another said, We miss the galaxy sometimes, but we don't miss being taken for granted. The most revealing message came from his former supervisor. We left instructions for everything, Minho. If they really need us, they'll find a way to reach us. But they have to ask properly this time. Minho understood now. The humans hadn't. Fled the galaxy. They had gone on strike. A very polite, very thorough strike that left their former employers with exactly enough time to either learn to appreciate their contributions or learn to live without them. The question was, which choice would the galaxy make? 6 weeks after the human departure, the Galactic Council faced its first real crisis. The crisis began on Sanctuary Prime, the galaxy's largest medical world. Dr. Lee Jun, one of only 3 humans who had remained behind, stood in the emergency medical center watching alien doctors struggle with a procedure that should have been routine. A Vorthan child had been brought in with a rare genetic condition. 6 months ago, this would have been a simple treatment using human-developed gene therapy. But now the alien medical staff couldn't make the therapy work properly. The sequences aren't stabilizing, Dr. Hexus, the chief Altarian physician, said as he studied the genetic scanner readings. The human protocols show what to do, but we can't replicate their results. Lee Jun looked at the data and immediately saw the problem. You're following the basic protocol, but you're not adjusting for the Vorthan-specific genetic markers. The therapy needs to be customized for each patient. How do we customize it? Dr. Hexus asked. Experience, Lee Jun said sadly. My team spent years learning to read these patterns. It's not something you can learn from a manual. The Vorthan child died 3 days later. It was the first death directly caused by the human absence. But it wouldn't be the last. Within a week, Lee Jun found himself working 20-hour days, trying to treat patients across the entire sector. Alien doctors brought him case after case that they couldn't solve without human expertise. I can't do this alone, he told Commander Ixalk during a video call. There are millions of patients across dozens of worlds who need treatments that only humans know how to perform properly. What do you need? Commander Ixalk asked. I need my team back, Li Jun said simply. But they're gone, and I don't know how to reach them. The medical crisis was just the beginning. On the industrial world of Forge Prime, the automated factories that produced starship components had begun producing defective parts. The quality control systems, designed by humans, were detecting problems but couldn't fix them automatically. Factory manager Clunk, a mechanical being made of metal and circuits, studied the error reports with growing confusion. The systems show that 23% of our output is below acceptable standards, but we cannot determine what is wrong. His assistant, a floating jellyfish-like creature named Bloop, brought him more bad news. Sir, the Helix Mining Corporation is threatening to cancel their contracts if we cannot improve quality. They say our components are causing system failures in their mining equipment. Clunk accessed the human-designed diagnostic systems, but the error messages were written in technical language that his team couldn't fully understand. The humans had created incredibly sophisticated quality control systems, but they had never taught anyone else how to actually use them. Contact the human who remained on Nexus Prime, Clunk ordered. Perhaps he can help. But when they reached Kang Minho, he could only offer limited assistance. I'm not an engineer, he explained. I can try to translate some of the technical terms, but I don't understand the manufacturing processes themselves. Similar problems were emerging across the galaxy. The humans had been involved in so many different industries and technologies that their absence created problems everywhere. On New Terra, the terraforming equipment that was slowly making the planet more habitable had begun malfunctioning. The atmosphere processors were working, but they were no longer coordinating properly with the weather control systems. Project Director Vex, a tall, thin being with purple skin, watched in frustration as storm systems formed in all the wrong places. The weather patterns are becoming chaotic, he reported to his superiors. The human meteorologist who designed our climate control program left detailed instructions, but we cannot interpret them correctly. The planet's colonists began experiencing violent storms, extreme temperature swings, and atmospheric irregularities that made large areas unlivable. Within a month, 3 million colonists had to be evacuated to safer regions. Park Sumi, still working alone on Kepler Station, received constant requests for help from across the galaxy. Engineering teams on dozens of worlds were facing problems they couldn't solve without human expertise. I'm getting 50 emergency calls per day, she told Commander Ixalk. Power grid failures, life support problems, transportation system breakdowns everywhere. The humans worked. Things are falling apart. Can you travel to these other worlds to help? Commander Ixalk asked. Sumi shook her head. Even if I could be in 100 places at once, I don't have expertise in all these different systems. My team included specialists in dozens of different fields. I'm just one engineer. The scope of the problem was becoming clear. The humans hadn't just been workers. They had been the invisible foundation that held galactic civilization together. Every major industry, every important technology, every critical system had human involvement somewhere. Velthar presented his findings to the Galactic Council with growing urgency. The situation is worse than we initially calculated, he announced. We're not just missing human workers, we're missing human knowledge that cannot be easily replaced. He displayed a holographic map of the galaxy showing affected systems. Red areas indicate critical failures. Yellow areas show significant problems, and green areas are still operating normally. The map was almost entirely red and yellow. This is impossible, Thorok declared. How could one species be involved in so many different things? Because we let them be, Velthar replied. For 50 years, whenever we had a problem we couldn't solve, we asked the humans for help. They always said yes. They always found solutions. We became dependent on them without realizing it. Silix, the reptilian council member, studied the data with growing alarm. According to these reports, human-influenced systems are failing at a rate of 12% per week. At this rate, we'll have complete infrastructure collapse within 6 months. What about the human settlements they left behind? Asked Council Member Frex, a gaseous being who spoke through a mechanical translator. Can we learn from studying their abandoned facilities? Velthar's skin turned dark blue with frustration. We tried. Their computers are password protected. Their research files are encrypted. Their equipment requires access codes that nobody knows. It's as if they expected us to try to reverse engineer their work and deliberately made it impossible. But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Crix, the crystalline trader, had been conducting her own investigation into human activities. She approached Velthar with disturbing information. I have been analyzing human trading patterns from the past 10 years, Crix announced, her body flashing with urgent light patterns. The humans weren't just responding to our requests for help, they were anticipating them. What do you mean? Velthar asked. Every major technological advancement in the past decade had human involvement, but not in the way we thought. They weren't just contributing to alien projects, they were subtly guiding them. The breakthrough discoveries made by alien scientists were actually based on hints and suggestions provided by human consultants. Velthar's tentacles curled with shock. Are you saying that our technological progress was artificially enhanced by human guidance? Yes, and there's more. I found evidence that humans were deliberately sharing their knowledge in incomplete ways. They would solve immediate problems, but not teach the underlying principles. It kept us dependent on their continued assistance. This revelation changed everything. The humans hadn't just been helpful neighbors, they had been carefully managing galactic technological development to ensure their continued importance. But why? Velthar asked. Why would they do this? Kang Minho provided the answer during a private meeting. Because every time humans shared complete knowledge with alien species, those species stopped asking for human help. They would take the knowledge and never acknowledge where it came from. Humans learned to be essential rather than helpful. So they made themselves indispensable on purpose? Not maliciously, Minho explained. But they learned that being helpful got them ignored, while being essential got them respected. At least that's what they thought. But the respect had been an illusion. The aliens had appreciated human effectiveness without appreciating humans themselves. They had valued the services without valuing the providers. Li Jun, exhausted from treating patients across multiple worlds, sent a message to the Galactic Council. I've been working without sleep for 3 days straight, trying to save lives that could be easily saved if my colleagues were here. But they're not coming back, are they? We don't know how to contact them, Velthar admitted. Then people are going to die, Li Jun said simply. Not because the treatments don't exist, but because the only people who know how to perform them have left the galaxy. That night, for the first time since the humans departed, Velthar understood the true price of their absence. It wasn't just inconvenience or economic loss. It was a civilization slowly collapsing because it had become too dependent on people it had never truly appreciated. The humans had departed in silence, but their absence was becoming very loud indeed. 3 months after the human departure, the Galactic Council made a desperate decision. They had to find the humans and bring them back, no matter what it took. Velthar stood before the emergency council session, his blue skin pale with exhaustion. "The situation has become critical," he announced. "We've lost contact with 4 entire star systems due to infrastructure failures. Medical facilities on 16 worlds can no longer perform advanced treatments. Agricultural production has dropped by 60% across the Outer Rim." The council chamber, once filled with confident alien leaders, now held beings who looked defeated and worried. "We authorize unlimited resources for a galaxy-wide search," declared Prime Council Leader Zarion, an ancient energy being whose light had dimmed considerably in recent weeks. "Find the humans. Bring them back. Whatever they want. We'll negotiate." 3. Search teams were immediately organized. The first team, led by Velthar himself, would search the Rim worlds for signs of human colonization. The second team would follow the energy signatures of human ships using advanced tracking technology. The third team would monitor all quantum communication frequencies, hoping to detect human transmissions. But Kang Minho had a different idea. "You're thinking like aliens," he told Velthar during a private meeting. "You're looking for big signals, obvious signs, technological traces, but humans are more subtle than that." "What do you mean?" Velthar asked. "If I wanted to hide an entire species, I wouldn't go somewhere obvious. I'd go somewhere impossible to find unless you knew exactly where to look." Minho had been studying old human exploration records, data that the departing humans had left unencrypted. Hidden in the routine survey reports, he found what he was looking for. 20 years ago, human deep space explorers discovered a cluster of micro-wormholes in the void sector, Minho explained. They reported it as a navigation hazard and recommended avoiding the area. But what if it wasn't a hazard? What if it was a highway? The void sector was a region of space that all galactic civilizations avoided. It appeared to be empty, containing no stars or planets, just dark space between galaxies. But Minho's theory suggested that the humans had found a way to use the micro-wormholes to reach a completely different galaxy cluster. "It would be the perfect hiding place," Minho continued. "Somewhere no alien civilization would ever think to look, because it appears impossible to reach." Velthar authorized an expedition to the void sector. The journey took 2 weeks, using the fastest ships available. When they arrived, they found what appeared to be empty space. But Minho was right. Hidden among the cosmic background radiation, their sensors detected the faint signatures of artificial quantum tunnels, micro-wormholes that had been expanded and stabilized using technology far beyond current galactic capabilities. "The energy patterns are definitely human," reported the ship's science officer. "But these modifications, this is technology we've never seen before." "Because they didn't share it with us," Velthar realized. "While they were helping us with our problems, they were secretly developing their own advanced technologies." The wormhole network led to a galaxy cluster approximately 50,000 light-years away. When the search team emerged on the other side, they found something that took their breath away. New Sol, the humans called it. A massive space station the size of a small moon, surrounded by hundreds of smaller stations and thousands of ships. The construction was elegant and efficient, built using techniques that were recognizably human, but far more advanced than anything they had used in galactic space. "There are millions of them," the science officer whispered as they observed from a safe distance. "This isn't just a colony, it's an entire civilization." Around the main station, terraforming ships were working on dozens of planets. Agricultural stations floated in perfect formation, producing food using methods that made their galactic counterparts look primitive. Mining operations extracted resources from asteroid belts with efficiency that the Helix Mining Corporation could never match. "They've been planning this for decades," Velthar said. "While we thought they were just helping us with our daily problems, they were building a backup civilization." The most shocking discovery was the technology itself. The humans had clearly been holding back their best innovations while living in galactic space. Their new ships were faster, their computers were more advanced, and their engineering techniques were revolutionary. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission." A hologram appeared on the bridge. Admiral Cho, Hana, a middle-aged human woman with graying hair and calm, intelligent eyes. "Greetings, Velthar," she said. "We've been monitoring your approach. Welcome to New Seoul." "Admiral Cho," Velthar replied, his tentacles curling with nervous energy. "The Galactic Council sent us to request your return. Our civilizations are facing serious problems without human assistance." Admiral Cho's expression remained polite, but distant. "We're aware of the situation. We receive regular reports from our monitoring stations. You've been watching us?" "Of course. We didn't disappear, we relocated. We still care about the galaxy's well-being, but we're no longer willing to be taken for granted." Velthar leaned forward desperately. "What would it take for you to return? Name your terms. The Council has authorized me to negotiate anything." "Return?" Admiral Cho seemed genuinely surprised. "Velthar, we're not coming back. This is our home now." Behind Admiral Cho, Velthar could see glimpses of the human station. Bustling corridors filled with happy, productive people, advanced laboratories, beautiful living spaces, and children playing in parks under artificial skies. "But the galaxy needs you," Velthar protested. "People are dying. Civilizations are collapsing. Without human expertise—" "The galaxy will adapt," Admiral Cho interrupted gently. "Or it won't. That's not our responsibility anymore." A younger human appeared beside Admiral Cho, Chief Administrator Lim Taeho, who had once been the galaxy's top human diplomat. "Velthar," Lim Taeho said. "For 50 years, humans solved everyone else's problems while our own people worked themselves to exhaustion. We were valued for what we could do, not for who we were. Do you understand the difference?" Velthar's skin darkened as he considered this. We respected human abilities." "You respected human services," Admiral Cho corrected. "There's a difference. When we suggested policy changes that would benefit human workers, we were told to stay in our technical roles. When we requested representation in council decisions that affected us, we were told that we were too new to the galaxy to have political opinions. You wanted our solutions, not our partnership." The truth hit Velthar like a physical blow. That humans had never been treated as equals. They had been treated as extremely valuable servants. "We made mistakes," Velthar admitted. "But surely we can correct them. The Council is willing to offer humans full membership, equal representation." "After we left," Lim Taeho pointed out. "These offers come only when you need us, not when we needed recognition." Admiral Cho's expression softened slightly. "Velthar, you're a good person. You tried to treat humans fairly within the system that existed. But the system itself was the problem." "Then help us fix the system," Velthar pleaded. "We tried that for 50 years. Now we're building a better system here." "Admiral," Cho gestured to the thriving human civilization around her. Our children are growing up free to pursue their own interests instead of constantly solving other people's problems. Our scientists can research what fascinates them instead of only what the galaxy needs fixed. Our artists create beauty instead of just utility. But what about the people dying in galactic hospitals? Velthar asked desperately. Admiral Cho was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "We left detailed medical procedures for every life-threatening condition we know how to treat. If alien doctors take the time to study and practice those procedures, they can save those lives themselves. The procedures are too complex." "No," Admiral Cho said firmly. "They're complex, but not impossible. Human doctors learned them. Alien doctors can learn them too if they're willing to put in the effort instead of expecting humans to do the work for them. This was the heart of the matter. The galaxy had become addicted to human problem-solving instead of learning to solve problems themselves. However," Admiral Cho continued, "we're not completely heartless. We're willing to provide emergency assistance under specific conditions." Velthar leaned forward hopefully. "We'll send automated medical drones to handle immediate life-threatening emergencies," Admiral Cho said, "but only for cases where death is imminent and alien doctors have genuinely attempted treatment using our procedures. We won't enable continued dependency. And for other problems? We'll provide consultation," Lim Teho said. "Not solutions. We'll tell you what questions to ask and what principles to consider, but you'll have to find the answers yourselves." "For how long?" Admiral Cho smiled sadly. "1 year. After that, you're on your own. Permanently." As Velthar's ship prepared to return to galactic space, he realized that the humans had given the galaxy exactly what it needed. Not rescue, but the chance to grow up. The question was whether the galaxy would take that chance or collapse under the weight of its own dependency. 1 year later, the galaxy had learned to survive without humans, but survival came at a price that no one had expected to pay. Velthar stood in the rebuilt council chambers on Nexus Prime, looking at representatives from civilizations that had been permanently changed by the human departure. The chamber itself was smaller now. 7 worlds had fallen back to pre-spaceflight technology and could no longer participate in galactic government. "The annual assessment is complete," Velthar announced to the remaining council members. "We have avoided total collapse, but the cost has been significant." The numbers told a story of forced adaptation. Galactic trade operated at 30% of its previous efficiency. Medical technology had stagnated. Alien doctors could now perform the procedures humans had left behind, but no new treatments had been developed. 3 entire star systems had been abandoned when their inhabitants couldn't maintain the complex infrastructure that human engineers had built. But there had been progress, too. Alien scientists, forced to solve their own problems, had developed new approaches that were different from human methods but sometimes equally effective. The Crystalline Consortium had invented entirely new manufacturing techniques. The Altarian Medical Institute had made breakthroughs in surgical methods that didn't require human-level precision. "We have become more self-reliant," reported Dr. Vash from Green Valley. "Our agricultural yields are 60% of what they were with human assistance. But they're stable, and we understand every aspect of the systems we're using." Park Sumi, now the director of the Human Heritage Foundation, had spent the year traveling between worlds, teaching alien engineers the basic principles behind human problem-solving methods. Her students were finally beginning to think like human engineers, not copying human solutions, but learning to approach problems the way humans did. "Progress is slow," she reported, "but it's real progress. My students are starting to develop their own innovations instead of just maintaining human-built systems." Lee Jun had established medical training centers on 12 worlds, teaching alien doctors not just human procedures, but human medical thinking. The death rate from treatable diseases had dropped significantly as alien medical staff learned to diagnose and treat conditions they had previously referred to human specialists. "We're saving lives that would have been lost without human knowledge," he said. "But we're also training doctors who can save lives without needing human guidance." Kang Minho had become the galaxy's unofficial historian of the human era, documenting exactly how dependent galactic civilization had become on human expertise. His research was being used to prevent similar dependencies from developing with other species. "The humans taught us an important lesson," he told the council. "Not intentionally, but effectively. They showed us the difference between partnership and dependency. But the most significant change was in how the galactic community treated its member species. The new council charter included provisions preventing any single species from becoming as essential as humans had been. Problem solving was now distributed across multiple species, with built-in redundancies to prevent critical failures. "No species will ever again hold the galaxy hostage by leaving," declared Thorok, though his tone suggested he understood that the humans hadn't been the hostage-takers in that situation. The human medical drones had saved thousands of lives during the transition year, but they had operated exactly as promised, providing emergency treatment only when alien doctors had genuinely attempted treatment first. The drones had gradually reduced their interventions as alien medical capabilities improved. The consultation services had been equally valuable and equally frustrating. Human advisors would answer questions about principles and approaches, but they refused to provide specific solutions. This forced alien problem solvers to develop their own methods based on human-inspired thinking rather than human-designed answers. "It was like learning to fish instead of being given fish," Dr. Hexus explained. "Harder at first, but ultimately more valuable." Now, as the year of human assistance came to an end, the galaxy faced a choice. They could try to contact the humans again and beg for continued help, or they could accept independence and continue developing their own capabilities. Velthar had his answer ready. "The Galactic Council has voted unanimously," he announced. "We will not request extended assistance from the human civilization. We thank them for their guidance during our transition period, but we are ready to manage our own affairs." This decision wasn't made from pride or stubbornness. It was made from genuine understanding of what the humans had been trying to teach them. The galaxy had learned that true strength came from competence, not dependency. They had discovered that solving your own problems, even if your solutions weren't as elegant as human solutions, created knowledge and confidence that couldn't be gained any other way. But the humans weren't completely gone from galactic life. Reports began coming in from the frontier worlds. Stories of mysterious ships appearing during natural disasters or pirate attacks, providing assistance, and then vanishing before they could be properly identified. The ships used technology that was clearly human in origin, but far more advanced than anything humans had used during their time in galactic space. "They're still watching us," Crix reported during a council meeting. "Not interfering, but not completely absent either." These interventions followed a clear pattern. The humans would help in situations where lives were at immediate risk and no alien assistance was available, but they wouldn't help with economic problems, political disputes, or technical challenges that alien civilizations could solve themselves. Given enough time and effort, they're treating us like adults, Velthar realized, providing safety nets for genuine emergencies but not enabling continued dependency. Kang Minho received occasional messages from his former colleagues in New Seoul. The human civilization was thriving beyond anyone's expectations. They had made contact with other galaxy clusters and were sharing knowledge with completely alien civilizations that had never heard of the old galactic community. "They're building something bigger than what we had here," he told Velthar during one of their regular meetings. "A true partnership of equals instead of a hierarchy of dependencies." "Do you regret staying behind?" Velthar asked. Minho considered this carefully. "I regret the way things ended," he said finally. "But I don't regret helping with the transition. Someone needed to be here to explain human thinking to alien minds, and someone needed to be here to document what really happened, so future generations understand the lesson." "What lesson is that?" "That competence without appreciation leads to abandonment," Minho said. "But also that dependence without effort leads to weakness." Both sides learned something important. As the second year without human assistance began, the galaxy had settled into its new reality. Trade flowed along routes that were less efficient, but more resilient. Medical centers saved lives using techniques that were less advanced, but more widely understood. Engineering projects were completed using methods that were less elegant, but more sustainable. Most importantly, when problems arose, alien civilizations worked together to solve them instead of looking for a single species to provide all the answers. The last message from New Seoul came through Kang Minho's private communication channel. It was from Admiral Cho Hana, and it was brief. "We're proud of your progress. You've learned to stand on your own, and that's exactly what we hoped would happen. Perhaps someday we'll meet again as equals, but that day will come only when you're ready for true partnership instead of convenient dependency. Until then, know that we're still here, still watching, and still hoping for the best." Velthar read the message with mixed emotions. The humans were gone, probably forever, but they had left behind something more valuable than their technology, or their problem-solving abilities. They had left behind a galaxy that had learned to solve its own problems. The price of human departure had been everything the galaxy thought it needed, but what they had gained in return was something they had never realized they were missing: the confidence that comes from true competence and the strength that comes from standing on your own. In the end, the humans had given the galaxy the greatest gift possible: not solutions to their problems, but the ability to find solutions themselves. 20 years later, when stories were told of the human era, they weren't tales of the amazing technology or incredible efficiency that humans had provided. They were stories about the day an entire galaxy grew up, learned to take care of itself, and discovered that it was stronger than it had ever imagined possible. And sometimes, just sometimes, mysterious ships still appeared at the edges of galactic space, helping where help was truly needed, then vanishing like guardians watching over children who had finally learned to walk on their own.